On this episode of ResiWeek, Amazon buys Eero, Cydia announces 2019 boot camps, and Samsung drops the Blu-ray player for North America. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 159, Disc is Dead.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Peerless AV, driving technology through innovation.
Welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and story for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv. And today I'm pleased to be joined by the one and only Todd Anthony Puma. He is the president of the Source Home Theater in New York, New Jersey, in that whole region. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for coming back. It's been a while since we've chatted. This is going to be fun. Yes. And to round it out, we have Tim Albright. He's the founder of AVNation, this is your network. How you doing, bud?
I am well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. It is Family Day here and President Day there, I believe.
President's Day here, yes.
Yes. So at least I'm supposed to be off and working because that's what we do in this business. So let's jump right into other things that we do in this business. This comes to us from strategy.com. And our good friend Ted Green. Amazon has acquired the Wi-Fi router maker Eero. If you don't know Eero, I would ask what you're doing in the industry, but notwithstanding, Eero is the maker of a fantastic mesh Wi-Fi system. It has been kind of adopted, I would say, and maybe you guys would disagree with me, but I would say that it has been adopted as kind of one of the go-to entry-level, just fantastic Wi-Fi systems, platforms that integrators are using to make sure that their clients have a great mesh network throughout their home. Amazon has purchased this and are going to be doing some very interesting things with it. Todd, let me start with you on this one. Eero has been, as I said, it's been noted and really become a go-to product for a lot of integrators as their entry-level solution. If they've got a client who wants a bunch of IoT smart home stuff, Eero, here you go, out the door. Set it, forget it, don't worry about it. Now that this is owned by Amazon, Amazon, as a rule, seems to like to leave things alone, but you never know. Because it now will be even more available and most likely be touted as the, handshake one-on-one together with Amazon Echo Dots and other products like that. Should HTPs start to look somewhere else?
What this really comes down to is when I heard about the news, I was excited. I don't look at it as a big change as I would look for when I originally started my business and we were using Airport Extremes with Apple products. This is pretty much the next generation of, another router with a big manufacturer that will keep things the way it is. Like you said, Amazon has been keeping the products and, the integrity of the products the same since they've been taking over companies, because I think they understand when they have a good product, why change it? Why mess with something that's not broken? With also the excitement that comes from this is I'm newer to the Eero market. I was actually introduced Eero from Mark Feinberg from Home Theater Advisors. He's big into the middle market residential space, also dealing with Manhattan apartments just like myself with the challenges. And ever since I was introduced to this and kind of the simplicity of it, and like you stated before, the set and forget mentality that this brings and the comfort that brings to myself and the customers, I've been offering it more often, even with the systems that are a little bit more robust, but with the backbone of a more enterprise-grade router. And then I would secondary the Eeros into a bridge and then use the beacons throughout the homes, and nothing but success, man. It's a fantastic product, and I'm going to continuously keep on using this product until something happens, which we know it won't, because we're going to be positive. Then there's nothing that's going to change my mind with that.
Very good. Tim, when you read through this article, the two things that kind of stood out to me and things that Ted was alluding to, he was alluding to the fact that they made this purchase to compete with Google or continue to compete with Google and have something similar to the Google Mesh platform.
Yeah.
Is it as simple as that? Or is it kind of something that he didn't directly correlate, but he brought up the fact that occasionally it's not the easiest thing in the world to get Echoes and, Rings and some of the other products onto some of the traditional Wi-Fi platforms? Is it more like which mindset were they going after? Were they going after that competition side, or were they going after we're going to find a platform that makes our customers have an easier time setting up our products?
Well, let's be frank about what Amazon has turned into. They're devices.
I'd rather you be Tim.
Yeah, thank you.
Not Frank.
They sell devices that live and breathe on the network and on the internet, right? Everything from the Echo platform, whether it's a Dot or what have you, the Rings, and honestly, their sales platform, getting to Amazon store requires the internet. Having that solid backbone does nothing more than solidify their products as a solid as a solid device to have in your home to do whatever it is, whether that's see who's at the front door, or play music, or interface with your smart home. So this makes complete sense from the standpoint of making sure that you have a solid, easy to set up Wi-Fi system. I'm going to steal a quote from Frank White, who posted this on Facebook when this story broke. Actually, he was commenting on Ted's story. He said, Eero is Wi-Fi for grandmas. And as somebody who uses Eero, I set it up. A buddy of ours gave me one a couple of years ago, and literally within 10 minutes, I had an entire Eero system set up and ready to go, and it has been rock solid. It just doesn't fail. The biggest issues with my home Wi-Fi has been my cable provider, not with Eero. So Amazon looking at this like this is our foundation. And yeah, you can see a little bit with Google, but understand Google does the exact same thing. Google's primary business is search. Well, what do? Is they run fiber to different organizations. They make sure that the internet is stable. They've long held, at least in the U.S., for net neutrality, because they see that as a way to make sure that their customers' experience is flawless. Same thing here with Amazon. They're making sure that the products and services that people are coming to them for, Echo and Ring, those experiences are flawless and solid, and that foundation is a good, solid Wi-Fi system.
Very good. Last question, just before we leave this one. Are we to the point where these kind of platforms are so robust that we don't need to, in 90% of our installations, ever look at anything beyond this?
See, what you're stating right now is kind of where Crestron went last week with the Crestron home system. They're stating that 90% of the homes for the residential market are going to only need and utilize this kind of platform. So with that being said, it's like, it seems it is the way the industry is going. Maybe for myself, it seems that way because Crestron just went in that end of things, but Control 4 has been doing it, other line, and the line just go on and on. With Eero and in other product lines like this, yeah, I think that they're getting pretty close. If they have a network switch involved or they start adding a little bit to it, I see some really good competitors coming into the robust enterprise network. Again, it's just for a big portion of the homes. It won't be able to work in those 10,000 square foot homes. It would only be able to work in any Manhattan home that I could put it in. That's a fact. So for my market, it's a win-win every single time.
And I would actually take a slightly different stance on that, Todd, is the fact that this is a great system, right? It's a great system. It's a solid system that's pretty easy to set up. This is not, you mentioned it, this is not for a 10,000 square foot home. This is not for a home that you need constant supervision or updates or the ability to go in and fix something remotely, right? You're not, this is not a PoE switch where you can go in and remotely, power cycle a camera. It is what it is. It's a pretty simple, stable, good foundation for wireless and network in someone's, smaller home, but average size home. Again, this is not for 10,000 square foot plus. This is for 2,000-3,000 square feet with somebody that can set it up themselves. For you guys, you guys, make your bread and butter and making sure that your clients have, as much uptime as possible. You're able to see things, which is why some of these switches that folks are putting in, that give you the ability to, look in from the back door and, provide maintenance and provide service, both remotely and on site. That gives you guys a little bit more, more meat, more robustness, than just a basic, Wi-Fi system. So I see this as kind of a niche, a great fit for Amazon, but for folks that are doing, residential networking and putting a lot of stuff on it, I don't see Eero in that ballpark unless I'm off on something.
Very good. All right, gentlemen, let's go to our next story of the day. This comes to us from Residential Systems. CEDIA has released their 2019 boot camp schedule. The options include basic residential, home theater, and advanced networking. If you don't know what a CEDIA boot camp is, it's a 3-day training on site at CEDIA's HQ in Indianapolis, where, again, you get to focus on all kinds of fun things in all of those 3 different veins. And when I say that they've got a slate, they've got a pretty extensive slate. I believe there's 10 or so different trainings going on. Tim, I'm going to come back and start with you on this one. We all know within the industry that training is important. At ISE this past week or 2 weeks ago, you and I talked to countless manufacturers as well as the associations, both Avixa and CEDIA, and they were both touting training. All the manufacturers were touting training. Everybody's talking about developing workforce and how training is such an integral part of that. This is a ambitious slate of trainings for CEDIA to be taking on. Where is the benefit to integrators, to dealers, to go after and send their people to manufacturer agnostic training, opposed to just sending them to, their rep firms and the other companies that offer manufacturer specific training?
Yeah. This gives you a good baseline, right? This gives you the good basics to then go into manufacturer specific trainings. Let's take it from this first and then answer the manufacturer second. This tells you, how to terminate cable. This will give you the basics of home networking. This will give you the basics of home audio. Then from there, you have a good tool set. Then if you want to learn a little bit more about lighting and you're a Lutron dealer, you go learn about lighting, right? And Lutron lighting. If you're a Crestron dealer and you need to learn more about Crestron Home OS, then you're going to go to Crestron training. If you're a Control 4 dealer and you know how to program that, then that's where you're going to go for that specific skill set. But this is a good foundation, and I would encourage anybody, whether it's the boot camp or whether it's the Avixa training. Both of them give you good basics, good foundations to then start your career, advance your career a little bit more, and then you can go out and get some of the more specific trainings of the manufacturers for the product lines that your company carries.
Todd, when you look at this from an integrator, from a home technology professional standpoint, basic residential, basic home theater, advanced networking, those are, we'd like to think, kind of the standards, like Tim alluded to, the basics that people can get into to understand all the generalities and some of the specifics, but nothing, manufacturer specific. Does this cover the basics of what you would want to be able to send new onboarded employees to, or are there more things that you're looking for?
There's always more that we're looking for, but what the hardest thing for me as a business owner and also a trainer to my guys is the basics. It's always say, let's bring this back to the basics. These are the things that are so simple for me, I forget to do, and I forget how it's so vital for the growth of your employees to know something as simple as, setting up a basic network, how to pre-wire, how to set up a home theater, the right way, even possibly. I'm sure they talk about, speaking to the end user and educating the end user about the process that you're doing when you're at their home. But what comes from here is they give the basics. They explain the basics. Then I sit there and I grow them in the areas of my manufacturers and train them on how we apply Crestron to a home, how we apply, Arachnus to a home. And from there, you teach them some basic skills. You teach them some people skills, but that's all about your practice. That's all about how you do business. Everybody has their personal ways of handling it, and there's no wrong way of handling it, but training is everything, and it's number one.
Very good. Let's go on to our next story of the day. This comes to us from Forbes. If you think they weren't paying attention to what we do every day, you'd be wrong. But unfortunately, this isn't necessarily a great story for what we do every day. Samsung has quit the 4K Blu-ray player market. They confirmed yesterday or Saturday that they will no longer be making any new 4K Blu-ray players for North America. There was a couple models that were shown at or talked about in January. Specifically a high-end model that was supposed to compete with some of the traditional Oppo players. And that has also been shelved. I've read in another report that this doesn't just include 4K. This is also going to include 1080p. That's a really big change. Todd, I want to come to you directly on this one. We know that streaming is kind of where the future's headed, where things are going. But specifically in our industry, we kind of live on Blu-ray. We live on a disc base for any sort of reference material. Right. Oppo quit, closed, shut down, stopped making new products this past summer. Now Samsung is saying that they're no longer going to make it in North America or offer them in North America. That leaves Sony and Panasonic. Does this mean that disc is dead? Like, are we finally able to put the definitive stamp on that?
That's a great question. It's something that shows the beginning of the end, but you know what? CDs never ended. And, some people feel comfortable having a physical disc, right? Just like I'm a person who likes to read a book. I don't like to read books on my computer or on my physical tablet. I want to have something I can I could hold and I can turn the pages. It feels like it's more of a relationship, even though it's a materialistic, nonsense. But in this case, where the discs are going, it's sad for me because I enjoy it, and I think it's going to be for my generation, your generation. It's going to be something that is something we're really going to miss. Put it that way. And I don't understand why Samsung would do this, especially with 4K just coming out, with the amount of money that they can make for the upgrades on the disc with that, as well as consumers who really are committed to it. Because I'm going to be honest with you, 90% of my homeowners request still to have a Blu-ray player in their rack. They don't care if it's expensive. They don't want nothing like Kaleidoscope. They just want to have something that if they had a movie, an old Disney movie or whatever it may be, they could pop it in, as well as home videos. That's huge. A lot of my customers have kids that play soccer or sports, and they just want to look at the video that was filmed, and the only way you could do that is with disc, in most of the cases.
Tim, this is something that you and I have talked about over the years a lot. Not so much the death of disc, but the way that consumers are changing. We're seeing streaming, what Todd just mentioned. I don't film anything of my kids. Like, my kids are under 4. Everything is on my iPhone. And we like I showed my parents a skiing video of Cohen just the other day, and we, airplayed it to their TV yesterday to watch it. So I understand completely what Todd's saying. I have a stack, and by stack I mean like an entire wall full of Blu-rays. This concerns me, but I know it's coming. I know this is going to happen. What do we, as such a small sliver of the market, what do we do in this kind of situation where we can't raise enough noise to get Samsung to all of a sudden say, "Oh yeah, no, we'll start making Blu-rays again"? What are we going to do as this potentially dies off?
Well, you mentioned it already. Sony and Panasonic still make some pretty good Blu-ray players, and you're going to go there for the time being. But let's understand what this is. This is a business decision by Samsung. They're not being esoteric. They're not, being philosophical about this. They're making a business decision. and their forecasts are telling them that the disc is dead, that the disc is dying, and that's why they're getting out of it. There's a couple things going on here. First of all, as we ramp up and getting into 4K, and honestly, there are several folks that are doing 8K. Sharp has been showing one for about 2 years now at both Digital Signage Expo and InfoComm. We're getting into 8K. Can either of you tell me what format we can play 8K from? I mean, is it? Can you get it on a Blu-ray? I mean,
SSD.
Exactly. That's the thing. So you hit the nail on the head right there. We're getting to a point with the resolution technology that a physical disc is going to become cost prohibitive or almost impossible to produce. So then we're left with, okay, so what do we plan on? We plan on some sort of media server. Okay, then I don't need a player, right? I don't need a disc. I don't need that. There are other issues that are going to come down the pipeline, such as connectivity. What exactly are we running? Is it some version of HDMI, or is it going to be SDI? What exactly are we running here from a cabling standpoint? But the actual media playing, whether it's 4K or 8K and beyond, honestly, is most likely not going to be played on a disc, and that's what Samsung is in essence forecasting here.
So let me ask you this. If we start looking at that and going to a media-based piece, what's involved in ensuring, because right now nobody is effectively offering something that can compete, even with a high-end, even with an Oppo. No one is producing a media player that can compete with that.
Flyscape is.
Not for that price point.
Oh, no, not for that price point, but from a technology standpoint and a quality standpoint, they certainly are.
That's what I'm asking. From a price point, where are we going forward? Is this Plex servers? Is this like what I'm asking is how do we as HTPs transition from discs to local media based? Yeah, but local so that you can transmit, because the networks can't support. They can barely support 4K streaming. No matter what they try to tell you, it's compressed beyond belief. When we start talking 8K, where are we going to go?
Yeah, I think you're running into the first generations are going to be you and Todd working in your garage and coming up with a solution, honestly, until somebody comes up with a good, viable, right, cost-effective solution that is both on-prem as well as in the cloud for streaming 4K and streaming 8K, both locally and from another service. But for right now, there isn't one that I'm aware of, and so that'll mean that technology professionals like yourselves will have to come up with a solution, whether that's home baked or that's partnering with other people.
Very good. All right, gentlemen, let's end it there. That's all the time we have today. Todd, thanks so much for joining us today. If people want to connect with you, learn more about the Source Home Theater, where can they do that?
They can find me on, actually get in touch with me through my website at www.sourcehometheater.com and email me at any time if you have any questions.
Do you mean that brand new website that you just released?
The brand new website that wasn't ready to be deployed. Yes, that one.
Well, stop sending marketing updates saying that it's ready.
I can't believe it.
Again, thanks so much for joining us. Tim, if people want to connect with you, learn more about AVNation, where can they do that?
You can follow me on the Twitters at TD Tim David Albright.
Excellent. Thanks again for being here. For myself, if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter and every other social platform. But more importantly, please stop by AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of our other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Also, when you're there, you can check out all the recent ISE coverage from about 2 weeks ago. That is all going up right now. So if you missed something cool, check it out. It will be there. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.